Okay, welcome back to the show Across the Spectrum. We're going to go over Katie Halper talking to Butch Ware and Jill Stein about AOC shilling for the establishment Democrats.
Before I show Lawrence O'Donnell today, I want to show Lawrence O'Donnell from before.
This is a very
Let's take a
popular
look at
clip
this
among the left.
pretty astute observation he makes, and he has the
I
experience
know
to
what she's
make it.
talking about.
This is from a bunch of years ago.
If you want to pull the party, the major party that is closest to the way you're thinking, to what you're thinking, you must show them that you're capable of not voting for them. If you don't show them you're capable of not voting for them, they don't have to listen to you. I promise you that. I worked within the Democratic Party. I didn't listen or have to listen to anything on the left while I was working in the Democratic Party.
They want to call Democrats left all the time. They are not left.
Now let's fast forward and hear what Lawrence had to say in late October of this year.
Ocasio-Cortez has had enough of Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate for president.
All you do is show up once every 4 years to speak to people who are justifiably pissed off, but you're just showing up once every 4 years to do that? You're not serious. You're not to me, it does not read as authentic. It reads as predatory.
That doesn't seem authentic at all.
Of the United States, thanks to the Electoral College and Jill Stein. The votes that Jill Stein took.
And she wants to say predatory. She took all them votes in New York. She got voted in talking about Medicare for all, and when it came to time for forced to vote, she wasn't there. And then calling AOC or calling Pelosi Mama Bear after, like, yeah, no, to me she's pretty predatory. Like, she's a liar. She hasn't done any, well, she might have done some of the stuff she said she was going to do, but not the big stuff.
From Hillary Clinton in key Electoral College states were enough to help Donald Trump win Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Donald Trump is very grateful to Jill Stein. He says that he likes Jill Stein because she takes 100% of her votes from the Democratic candidate for president. And that's why the Harris for President campaign is now running this.
See, does this sound like the guy in the first clip, the younger man?
Stein, Green Party candidate for president.
Or the younger him?
So why are Trump's close allies helping her? Stein was key to Trump's 2016 wins in battleground states. She's not sorry she helped Trump win.
They turned her into Trump. That was crazy. It's like, what's happening to her face? That was a crazy ad. I liked it. That was probably the best ad. The best ad Harris had.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I
just
approve
the
this
face changing part.
I'll let you guys respond.
That was
but one
wild.
thing I love is now we're supposed to agree with Trump and take his analysis and his numbers seriously. The transition from the old Lawrence to the new Lawrence is fascinating. Although, you know, it's not even contradictory because he's kind of demonstrating what he said in the first place, right? He's saying that if you want to be able to have any influence, you need a place to go. And he obviously doesn't want there to be that influence. He doesn't want people to have the place to go. So he's actually not even contradicting himself. But what do you guys have to say about his clip? I know you've responded to AOC already. If you have anything new.
I just kind of tune it out, but, you know, I don't know that everybody else can do that. So I'll say, you know, at risk of like beating a dead horse here, that we don't go away. It's the media that goes away. It's like, if you don't get that, you know, like, how naive can you be? We're here, we're doing the work, you know, we're fighting against the war in Ukraine, we're fighting for Julian Assange, we're helping lower office candidates, some 140 of them, get elected, we're raising money.
And so I think AOC knows all this too,
AOC's
so I think she's lying about it.
Is like based on the idea that people-powered parties are the equivalent of billionaire or I should say, you know, billionaire-sponsored politics. We're not, and in fact, they target us. If they would leave us alone, then yeah, maybe we would be on an even playing field. But they don't, and you know, they impersonate us. They commit fraud. You know what they did to Matthew Ho, who was running for Senate, and I was working to help him get elected. You know, among many other candidates, I was not like didn't have my head in the hole in some hole in the sand somewhere. But we're up against Democratic Party, who's not only
Right.
like
See, Jill Stein's still
funded,
doing stuff in between the
in
elections.
this
Just
last race,
ABC
they
and
were
NBC don't be
spending the
covering it.
equivalent of our entire budget and more. They had way more staff than we did, simply for the purpose of smearing us. This was their war room, and this was one of the products of their war room. When AOC put out her pathetic, condescending, patronizing, statement from kind of in her semi-reclined position on her couch, whatever she was doing, pretending she was so casual and natural
Right.
about
Like he
this.
was just coming to her in real time.
Yeah, exactly. She was just kind of thinking about this one day, relaxing. No, she's just a total attack dog for the, Democratic Party elites. She's saying like that we are just, coming around every 4 years. It's complete nonsense. And when she did that, she got totally dragged on social media in the same way that the head, Jamie Harrison, the head of the DNC, he got totally dragged in the same way that Angela Ray or Rye, whatever her name is, got
Angela
totally
Rye.
dragged.
Yeah,
And
we're
the
gonna do that one.
comments, on
That
the
was so funny.
Breakfast
The
Club
Breakfast
were
Club, that was great.
overwhelmingly, give me a break. I didn't know that there was actually a real choice in this election. I'm going out
If you haven't seen it, go to the Breakfast Club video with Jill Stein and look at the comments about Angela Rye. It is hilarious.
to register green, which is why they panicked. They completely panicked. They had to suppress the knowledge of our existence because people are done. They're really done with the Democratic Party and they're staying home. And so they had to conduct this enormous fear
Don't
campaign.
stay home. Go
And
vote green,
what she said, to
libertarian,
my
something,
mind, is
anything.
so like disgusting. It's just this disgusting blather. It sort of, sabotages itself. You don't even have to condemn it. But basically, this was complete nonsense, not true. And we did not steal votes. Elections are
Votes are
competition. You're
earned.
supposed to
You
compete
don't
for
steal
votes.
votes,
So
right?
that's
Votes are earned.
nonsense. But
And
in
who's
addition to that,
nobody voting
polls
for the Green
actually
Party is going to
showed
vote for the
that people
Democrats.
who voted green would not otherwise have voted. And given that 1 out of every 3 voters, eligible voters, doesn't come out to vote, don't they deserve a voice? They're basically saying no to these candidates of the political elite and the economic elite being rammed down their throats. Non-voters are largely of color, lower income, and younger, and they don't have skin in this game. Don't they deserve candidates who are fighting for rent control, for $25 minimum wage, for healthcare as a human right, for bringing our military dollars, half of our congressional budget, back here to actually meet our needs here at home instead of getting us into trouble on the verge of nuclear war in 3 places around the world right now? Don't
We are
voters
always at
deserve
war.
that too? I mean,
Look
it's
it
just
up.
such
We've been at
big
war.
nonsense. They can only get away.
We've been at war for, let's see if I still have it up here. We've been at war for over 200 and, look at that, it's still there. The U.S. has been fighting for 228 out of the last 245 years. Is that, oh, it's something a little bit different. But yeah, I was looking this up earlier and almost thought I was going to take it down, but go ahead, look that up too. And just, yeah, when it comes to war, we do that.
Away with it because we can't be heard and because they are effectively silencing us. So it's like, to me, it's just like shame on them that they come up with this outrageous stuff. And why do they run these same old tired smears? Because they can't come up with other stuff. If we had some like big corporate contributions or something else that they could smear us with, they would do that. But it's like I've been in the public eye here for like 12 years at least. So they can't come up with new stuff. So they keep kind of running the same old, really tired, offensive smears. So, I think it's just, it's nonsense. And like, dare to say that to our face when we can actually like rebut it. I dare you. Let's have a debate about this.
Bahia Principe's Black Friday's here. Don't miss out on exclusive deals and book your dream getaway to the best sun-soaked destinations. Head to BahiaPrincipe.com now and enjoy the best time of the year.
when it comes to getting to market and
And let's also just be clear that they have to issue these kinds of ad hominem attacks because they cannot in any conversation cite policy. Because if they cite policy, then they draw attention to the fact that our policies are the policies that the American people want. So there is no way of actually doing this in politically legitimate fashion except to resort to ad hominem attacks. I'll say one thing, about AOC Pelosi, because yeah, say her name right. I'll try to paraphrase myself. After she made that little sorry video, what I said is that it is really rich, coming from AOC Pelosi, who set the land speed record for fastest betrayal of the American people, to talk about other folks being predatory.
I think A.O. Pelosi sounds sounds better, but either way.
Predatory is murdering 200,000 people in an open air concentration camp, and then telling people that you're supposed to vote. And AOC Pelosi, who likes to play progressive, but is a Nancy Pelosi clone, a corporate sellout shill for the murderous, hawkish neocon establishment. She likes to
Right.
cosplay
You just can't vote for
progressive,
that. At least I can't vote for that.
but she can't, even play the role anymore, because she's swimming in filthy cash from, from where she sits. So it's really rich coming from her of all people. But you'll notice that they had to put AOC, then they had to put Keith Ellison, George Takei. So they have to bring out the colored wing of the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party is a plantation. The elites say, the elites
The
say we
Jones
gotta, come
plantation.
after these leftists, but we gotta hide behind some people of color.
I've
Got to
gone
make
over
sure
that
people of
video.
color do it. Massa say jump. AOC say how high. Keith Ellison say how high, and they go and they put out the hit. They follow the orders, and it's a plantation because they also think that they have ownership of certain demographic groups as part of their voting blocks. When they say you spoiled the election because you stole these votes from us, what they're saying is
They didn't want to earn
black
them.
voters belong to us. Latin voters belong to us. And anybody that comes for those voters is taking our voters because we own those voters.
Yeah, I
They are
see.
our property. Stay away from our slaves. So
You don't owe your vote to nobody.
that's the one thing that I
Pay
would say in
attention. Like
response to
if
AOC
people
Pelosi's
actually paid
garbage and
attention and looked at
nonsense.
these
With
guys,
respect to Lawrence O'Donnell, this brings another element into the conversation, right? And it brings into to play the way that the corporate media has been completely complicit and corrupted in manufacturing consent for this genocide.
yeah, and don't just watch the corporate media. You got to go out and go. If you're watching me, you obviously do go out and find other stuff, but don't just watch the corporate media.
And trying to play nice as though you can oppose a genocide and support a genocider, right? They like to offer token, expressions of, how unfortunate it is that there's a humanitarian crisis and so forth. But let us be clear, there is blood on MSNBC's hands, period. And
Oh,
this
yeah.
this is now a media machine that serves to justify blue MAGA the same way that Fox News works for red MAGA. And we need independent media options that are not, sucking straight from the teat of, the same APAC and War Machine sources. Because as long as these are, of course, you're going to see Lawrence O'Donnell. Lawrence O'Donnell knows the difference between right and wrong, but he likes, the paychecks that he receives, from that network. And these are just patronage networks now that serve to justify and reinforce power. They don't serve another function.
It's not only entitled and problematic to assume that you own people's votes, but it just isn't true. I mean, Ben Jealous is not a fan, with all due respect, Ben Jealous is not a fan of you guys, right? In
Yep.
2016, people were blaming Jill for Trump's win, and he said, guys, stop it. Most of these people wouldn't have voted for the Democrat anyway. So when people like Lawrence O'Donnell and Rhodes Scholar Rachel Maddow, who's smart enough to know this,
Rhodes Scholar
when they
Rachel
point to
Maddow.
these numbers that went to Stein and these numbers missing from Hillary, they act as if they definitely would have gone to Hillary but for Jill Stein, which shows they're either liars or they're not very smart.
There were 2 polls came out right before the election that indicated that we were taking as many voters away from Trump as from the
Yes.
Dems anyway. So yeah,
In fact,
Right.
more. Yeah.
Yeah,
more
there's a
even.
Newsweek. I know there was this Newsweek article. It says
right.
a new poll, Jill
Check
Stein
that
beats
out.
Donald Trump more than Kamala Harris poll suggests.
Yep.
But no one ever talks about that. I've been very disappointed in Bernie. A lot of people are
I've
very
been
disappointed in
very
Bernie. I will
disappointed in
say,
Bernie,
though, to me,
yes.
there is an important difference between Bernie stumping for Biden and AOC stumping for Biden. Because Bernie, when he says, and I think he's being honest here, he said, you know, he obviously thinks that Trump
That's
is
our
worse
real
than
if you
Harris.
heard that go by.
But he
Sorry.
never pretended that she was being a true progressive. Never pretended Harris was being a true progressive. I would have liked for him to have not endorsed, or at the very least tried to get some concessions from her, but he didn't lie about that, at least that aspect of it. But then AOC gets on stage and says she's working tirelessly for a ceasefire, and now not only have you just like obviously endorsed them, but your cred is shot with anyone who actually cares about this issue. It was just such a stupid thing to do. I mean, you could make the argument, which Bernie made this argument, not whether or not you agree with it, it's not an inherently dishonest, I would say, argument. He says, look, Biden and Harris aren't where I'd like them to be on Gaza, but Trump will be worse. Again, you could agree or disagree. It's not an inherently dishonest argument. I think you can have a political debate about it, but with AOC just saying she's working tirelessly for a ceasefire, it's just an unforced error.
They're gaslighting you. That's all it is.
All right, so that was a pretty good interview by Katie Halper there. If you don't know her, look her up. She's I would say she's a leftist. Yeah, interviewing Jill Stein and Butch Ware from the Green Party. The Green Party is still out there. They're still doing stuff. So call your local Green Party, get involved, watch independent media, and yeah, just get involved. You got to do it. It takes everybody.